Jacob Warren. Please raise your hand for questions. We'll get you a mic. We'll start in the back.
Jacob, unlike a lot of guys here who are transferred in, you've lived this series. You've been in Knoxville your whole life. When you just hear Tennessee, Florida, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, it means the world, man, because this is what you come to the schools like this for, right? You come for these big rivalries, these big storied matchups between teams, and I think it means a lot this year too because both programs have really good teams. We're both ranked. It's going to be a great matchup. Obviously, they're coming here, and so it's going to be a great environment as far as just in the stadium and the crowd and the fans and everything. So, this is what you play SEC ball for is weekends like this.
Adam?
I'm sure the sort of the temperature's up when you play this one the first time. How does it help if you've played it before, the second, the third times? How do you handle it better?
Yeah, just understanding that the crowd, for us it'll be an advantage, but the crowd doesn't matter, right? Like the crowd is the crowd. If there's going to be noise, there's going to be, people talking about the game before the game. There's going to be predictions. There's going to be, all these different things that everyone's saying about the game and about each team, and you just kind of have to go into it as, this is just another week. We just have to go into it and try to focus on ourselves and prepare the right way. And at the end of the day, you should be successful in whatever you do. So.
Brent? And then Vince?
Jacob, Coach just said that this game last year was a turning point for the team and the program.
Yeah.
As a player, what was it about the game last year that changed the mindset and the approach for you guys in the locker room?
Yeah, just the realization that a lot of the things that are causing us to not be successful are self-inflicted and can be avoided, I guess, and just having that realization, clicking on the film and seeing like on this play it was the left tackle that messed up, and that's the reason. On this play it was the running backs that were wrong in their keys, or we're hurting ourselves because we're getting penalties on third down, or having big drops on the perimeter, or the quarterback's not reading the right thing, left or right, whatever it may be, and just coming to that realization that we're killing ourselves, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. And if we're able to lock in, like I talked about earlier, the preparation piece and being ready for the game, truly mentally and physically ready for the game, we'll give ourselves a much better chance to win. And we're able to take that into the next few weeks of the season and carry that into this season as well.
Vince, and then Ben, and then Wes.
Jacob, were there a couple of other takeaways from the game? Obviously, the score got out of hand. But what were some of your takeaways about your offense on Saturday?
This past Saturday? Yeah, I think so. I've heard it a lot. People saying that we came out slow, right, and we came out kind of lagging. We didn't score the first drive, and then put together 6 scoring drives in a row. And it might have seemed weird just because, we weren't up 28-0 in the first quarter, and I think that it's good because we kind of raised that bar, right? We've raised the bar from people expecting us to, maybe score 20-something points in a game to now people are expecting us to score 20-something points in a quarter, and so. Yeah, just go out there and you find your groove, and we talked about it. We watched the film and broke it down, and there's some mistakes that, again, it'll be all over the field. It's not just one position group, but something here and there where all 11 guys aren't executing at the highest level, and obviously, again, found our groove and we're able to kind of, put that one away. But, against really good teams, and Akron was a good team, but against teams that, we want to compete against for championships, those teams are going to have to be really clean going into the week, starting off the game.
Ben?
Jacob, just when you look back at last year's game, and kind of compare it to this year's game, 3-4 games into Josh Heupel and now 16, 17 games in, what would you say is the biggest difference going into this year's game compared to last year?
Just knowing ourselves, man, knowing that we can have confidence in our abilities, can have confidence in the coaching staff. It's weird. I don't remember a whole lot, from last season, details wise, just because, we're in such a mentality this. I won't call it a profession, but what we do is very much, focused on the next week, and so you kind of live that way, and then you forget about the details, right? And he asked me earlier about the game, and I was trying to think of what actually happened in the game, right? But man, just going into this game this year, just being able to trust the plan that's going in from the coaches. understanding that, on third down, I know exactly, maybe not exactly, but I have a pretty good idea of where Golish is going with the ball, or where Hype wants to do with the ball in certain situations, certain down distance. So just a better understanding of our offense and what we're trying to get accomplished.
Wes, Blake, and then Patrick.
Jacob, as you sort of think about the running game each of the first 3 games this season, or so far this season overall, how would you grade the running game performance this season? What are some things that you've liked from the running game, and what things you think need to be maybe a little more consistent?
I think some things that I liked is just I'm able to see our backs just hitting it, right? Third down, 3rd and 1. Whereas last year you might have some young guys that might not just trust it and just really go get that 1 yard. And I've seen our guys step up and truly put their head down and go get that yard for us so that we can continue our drives and go put points on the board. So running back wise, I think that's one big improvement that they've made. I think on the front, just being super clear in our IDs and who the line's working to, who the tight end's working to, and being on the same page, from the sideline to the field. Whenever they make adjustments, just being able to say, all right, we're no longer double teaming to this guy, let's double team to that guy, and let's get it all figured out. So.
Jacob, growing up here, you obviously have a close-up perspective. When it comes to rivalries, what's your perception of who's Tennessee's top rival, and where does Florida kind of rank in that conversation?
Obviously, yeah, Florida's up there. I think Florida. There's a lot of games that you can win and people not say much about, but this game and the games against other SEC competition are going to be the ones that people care about and the ones that people talk about the most. And so, all the other stuff kind of gets pushed aside, and it's all right. How do you go out there and perform against these guys? And so, it'll be a big test and it'll be a good matchup. And I think, like you said, it's a big game just because of the history and how it's gone the past few years here, and wanted to turn that around and get this place where it should be.
We have a few more with Patrick, and then back to Ben, and then we'll finish that.
Jacob, a couple questions. The last 2 weeks, you and Princeton have both had big plays on I guess pop pass, whatever you want to call it. You guys kind of stuff out. What's the key to making that play work from your guys' perspective?
I mean, just it honestly being on the right timing, right? Just understanding the defense and understanding, where their safeties are playing, I guess, and them kind of keying in on whatever the defense has going on and then being able to capitalize on those is really all it is.
And before you talked about sort of the noise and all the talk about this game that's going to be during this week. You, as one of the leaders on the team, you have to sit some of the other guys down and say, hey, we got to stay focused, or you do by example. How do you sort of set the tone this week?
Yeah, I think I don't think it's been that big of an issue for us on the team, but I think the coaching staff does a really good job of emphasizing man, it truly doesn't matter. Please don't be if you're on Twitter, if you can handle it, if you can look at all that stuff and read what people are saying about your team and about you and about the predictions, if you can handle it, in a mature way and understand that, it's just people talking, just people saying whatever, then sure, whatever. You're look at it, you're good, whatever. Maybe use it as motivation to go and be prove somebody wrong or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, it's just a matter of being mature about just understanding that everything is out there and it has nothing to do with what we've got going on and with what we're able to put out there on Saturdays. So,
Ben?
Jacob, you're more aware of the rivalry because you're from here and grew up within the rivalry. Do you believe that there's a mental hurdle that you all as a team have to overcome on Saturday on top of just executing just because of how the series has gone the last 10, 15 years?
Sure, yeah. I think I guess mental hurdle is a good way to put it. You kind of have to put the past, for me, it's been the past 4 seasons, right? The past 4 seasons behind you and just be every year we go into the game thinking you're going to win the game, right? You don't go into a game being man, it's Florida again, it's Alabama again, it's Georgia, let's just try to go and not lose, right? No, everyone, you genuinely, as a competitor, want to go in the game and win the game. And so, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, you have a snap and clear mentality, it's all about the next, and so you can't really think about last year or the years prior and just trying to go out there and win this one.
Last question for Jacob.
With your knowledge of the series, when Hendon came in last year, that was his first kind of big start. Do you recall any conversations you had with Hendon about the Florida series, about what that game meant a year ago?
I mean, I don't really recall anything. Hendon's an older guy. Hendon's played in big games. Hendon has started in big games, and he understood the magnitude of the rivalry, just because, I mean, I think a lot of people around college football understand, whether he was, you know, he wasn't at Tennessee, but I'm sure he'd probably heard of Tennessee, Florida, and how big of a deal it was. And he's the same way. You know, you ask him, it's just another week, right? It's just another week that we got to go out there and prepare and get ready to play our best. So at the end of the day, if we're all doing that, you know, we should be just fine.
Thanks, Jacob.
Cool. Thank you.